They gave you a name, a nation, a role, and you thought that was you. But what if the self you've always been isn't yours? Heidegger warned us, most of us aren't living as ourselves. We're merely existing as das Man. That's not a person, not even a group. It's a way of being, a fog of anonymity, a self lost in the expectations of others. Das Man means the they, the crowd, the echo of the echo. It's when you say something, wear something, believe something, not because you chose it, but because they do, because that's what one does, because it's normal. You wake up, you scroll, you dress like them, you speak like them, you think like them. Slowly, your soul is traded away for approval, your originality dies, sacrificed on the altar of acceptance. And the scariest part, you don't even notice it happening. Heidegger didn't just describe this as weakness, he called it falling, a descent from authenticity into inauthenticity, from being to appearing. You don't act, you are acted upon. You don't live, you are lived through. And when it gets truly dangerous is when this way of existing becomes comfortable, when it feels safe, because you've never truly stood alone, never faced the abyss without the mask. But Nietzsche, like Heidegger, didn't just diagnose the problem. He offered a cure, a violent one. He called for a war, not against society, but against imitation, against the last man, that tired creature who seeks nothing but comfort, pleasure, and sameness. The last man does not suffer, but he does not rise either. He is a man without a mountain. Nietzsche says, "You must become who you are. Not what they named you, not what they expect of you, not what pleases the herd, but the terrifying, beautiful, aching truth that to become yourself, you must leave behind everything that isn't, every borrowed belief, every convenient lie, every inherited mask, and only then does freedom begin." Let's go deeper. But here's the trap most fall into. They think being yourself means expressing every impulse, speaking every thought, following every instinct. But that's not authenticity, that's chaos. True authenticity isn't rawness, it's refinement. It's not doing what you feel, it's knowing why you feel it, and choosing what serves you. As Kierkegaard put it, the greatest hazard of all, losing oneself, can occur so quietly that it is almost like not losing at all. And that's exactly what happens when you drown in the noise of others. The Das Man doesn't just live through others, it avoids the burden of decision. It prefers the default. The crowd's opinion becomes your truth. Their fear becomes your limit. You scroll past a bold idea, and before you even decide, you check the comments. You hear a controversial opinion, and before you weigh it, you look around the room. That's not autonomy. That's surveillance disguised as comfort. Heidegger called it the inauthentic mode of being, a life where we outsource not just our choices, but our essence. So what does it take to escape? First, silence. Not outer silence, but inner. The ability to turn down the volume of the crowd until you can hear the faint whisper of your own convictions. Second, confrontation with death, with failure, with the terrifying freedom of being alone with your thoughts and not numbing it with endless distractions. Because here's what Heidegger truly meant. Death is not the end, it's the mirror. Only when we recognize that our time is limited do we stop performing and start becoming. You stop living for them, and you start building you. Nietzsche takes this further. He doesn't just ask for honesty, he demands creation. He says, art is the proper task of life, not painting, not sculpture, but you as your own masterpiece. You must sculpt your values, paint your passions, compose your destiny, and above all, destroy what's false. The false duties, the false humility, the false masks that turned you into a spectator of your own life. And that destruction, it's not cruelty, it's clarity. You were not born to repeat, you were born to rupture, to tear away from the roles they wrote for you, son, student, employee, citizen, and ask the forbidden question, who am I, before the world told me who to be. This is not rebellion for rebellion's sake. This is existential rebellion. It's the moment you no longer ask, what do they want from me? And instead demand, what do I want from this life? Most never reach this threshold. They remain in borrowed identities, patched together by social validation and inherited guilt. Their desires aren't their own. They're echoes. Their fears pre-programmed. They call it normal. But the authentic man knows normal is narcotic. It lulls you into comfort, into compromise, until one day you're successful, but soulless, approved but amputated, visible but vanished. That's when the war begins, not with others, but with your inner cowardice, because when you finally dare to live by your own code, the Dasman will rise in protest. It shows up in family expectations, cultural traditions, the friend who says, you've changed, and you must reply, yes, I've returned, not to what you were, but to what you could have always been. This is the birth of authenticity, not in comfort, but in confrontation. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Your blocks become your blueprint, your resistance, your reminder that you're not here to obey, you're here to transcend. That doesn't mean rejecting all guidance, but it means filtering every word through the forge of your own reason. You take ideas and test them against your soul. You hear traditions and ask, do they still serve truth? Because the man who blindly inherits beliefs never owns them, and the man who never owns his beliefs never owns himself. So the next time you feel that inner tension, the pull between comfort and calling, don't suppress it. Stand in it. That ache in your chest, that's your soul fighting for air. Don't silence it with distractions. Let it scream, because only in that scream do you hear the first breath of the man you were meant to become. So now you've heard the scream, not from the world, but from within. What do you do with it? Most people mute it. They run back to comfort, to convention, to what's known. Because authenticity has a cost. You will be misunderstood. You will be mocked. You will lose people, but you will find yourself. Because the price of staying fake is far greater, a life unlived, a soul unsummoned. Heidegger called it resoluteness. The moment you stop fleeing your finitude and begin shaping your existence with intention. You no longer hide in one day. You act now. You no longer ask, what should I do? You ask, who must I become? And in that question, you shatter the mask. It won't be pretty. The world resents the man who becomes himself because he exposes their cowardice. He walks into rooms and people feel uneasy, not because he's arrogant, but because he's free, unbothered, uncontrolled. His presence says, I know who I am. Do you? And most don't. So they'll label you. They'll say you've changed, that you think too highly of yourself, that you're selfish, too intense, too much. Don't bend. Their discomfort is the symptom of your breakthrough. Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. When you build your why, the how bows in submission because the world has no defense against a soul on fire. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be admired. You need to be real. Your life won't be a straight line. You'll fall, you'll question, you'll hurt, but it'll be yours. You'll wake up each day knowing, I am the one writing this story, not culture, not fear, not expectation, and at the end, you won't need applause. You'll die unmasked, and that, perhaps, is the only true victory. So the question is no longer, what do they want? The question is, are you brave enough to become who you were before the world taught you to hide?